The Sunday dinner started like any other. Roast chicken. Mashed potatoes. My mother's good china that we only used when someone had an announcement to make. I should have known something was coming. My sister Sophia kept refilling her wine glass and avoiding my eyes. My father cleared his throat 4 times before the salad was even served. And my mother, Linda, kept patting her perfectly styled hair like she was about to walk on stage. I was 20 years old, halfway through my business degree, and I knew exactly one thing about my family. Good news came with confetti, and bad news came with a speech. This was a speech. "Emily, sweetheart," my mother began, her voice dripping with the kind of sweetness that preceded something bitter. "Your father and I have been talking. You know how much we love you. You know we want the best for you." I set down my fork. "Just say it, Mom." She glanced at my father. He nodded like a man about to jump off a cliff. "We can't pay your tuition anymore," she said. "Sophia's wedding is in 6 months. The venue alone is $40,000. The flowers, the dress, the caterer. This is her dream. Her one special day. You understand, don't you?" Sophia finally looked at me. Her expression was carefully arranged into something resembling sympathy. You can always go back to school later. But I only get married once." I looked at her. Then at my father. Then at my mother. The silence stretched. My father cleared his throat for the 5th time. "We expect you to be mature about this. Your sister needs us right now. You're the smart one. You'll figure something out." That was their argument. I was the smart one. Sophia was the pretty one. Sophia needed a fairy tale. I needed to be understanding. What they didn't know, what none of them knew, was that I had figured something out. 2 years ago. I picked up my fork and took a bite of mashed potatoes. Chewed slowly. Swallowed. "Okay," I said. My mother blinked. "Okay? Okay. I understand. You don't need to pay my tuition anymore." Sophia's face lit up with relief. "Oh, thank God. I was so worried you'd make a scene." "I'm not going to make a scene," I said. "I'm just going to tell you the truth. I haven't needed your money for 2 years." The table went silent. "I got a full scholarship at the end of my freshman year," I continued. "Academic merit. I applied for it myself, wrote the essays myself, won it myself. My tuition has been covered ever since. I didn't tell you because I wanted to see how long it would take you to notice." My mother's face had gone pale. My father's mouth was hanging open. Sophia looked like someone had just cancelled her wedding. "But that's not all," I added. "Since I didn't have tuition to worry about, I used my part-time job money for something else. I started a business. A digital marketing company. We help small businesses build their online presence. It's called Ember Creative. I founded it with my friend Mark when I was 19. Last month, we landed our biggest client yet. A chain of local bakeries. 6 locations. They're paying us more than your annual salary, Dad." I took another bite of potatoes. "So, yes. Please. Use the money for Sophia's wedding. I genuinely don't need it." Sophia's wine glass slipped from her fingers and shattered on the hardwood floor. No one moved to clean it up. My mother was the first to speak. "A business? You? But you're just a student. You're a child. I'm 20. I'm an adult. And I've been running a profitable company for over a year while maintaining a 3.9 GPA. I was going to tell you eventually. But you never asked. You never asked how school was going. You never asked if I needed anything. The only time you called was to ask me to babysit Sophia's dog. That's not fair, Sophia snapped. You've always been so secretive. How were we supposed to know? Maybe by asking? Maybe by showing up to my dorm room once in 2 years? Maybe by remembering my major? What is my major, Mom? My mother opened her mouth. Closed it. Business administration, I said. With a minor in marketing. I've told you 6 times. My father finally found his voice. If you're so successful, then why didn't you offer to help with the wedding? Your sister is struggling. We're struggling. And you've been sitting on a company this whole time? I stared at him. You just told me you were cutting off my education to fund a party. And your first question is why I didn't offer to pay for the party. It's not a party. It's her wedding. It's a party with a white dress and a 3-course meal. And frankly, given how you've treated me for the last 2 decades, I don't think I owe you a centerpiece. My mother stood up. Her hands were shaking. Emily, how dare you speak to us like this? After everything we've done for you. What exactly have you done for me? You fed me. You clothed me. That's the legal minimum. You came to exactly 1 school event in my entire life. My 8th grade science fair. You left early because Sophia had a cheerleading competition. I won 1st place. I found out from my teacher the next day. The room was so quiet I could hear the grandfather clock in the hallway. It had belonged to my grandmother's mother. Speaking of which, Grandma Jean was the only person in this family who had ever believed in me. She lived in a small apartment across town. She was 82 and sharp as a tack. She had been my first investor. Does Grandma know? My mother asked, as if reading my mind. She was my first investor, I said. She gave me $500 and her old laptop. She said, go build something, kid. You're the only one in this family with any sense. Sophia burst into tears. Real tears or performance, I couldn't tell. This is supposed to be the happiest time of my life and you're ruining it. I'm not ruining anything. I'm sitting here eating chicken. You're the one who shattered a wine glass. My father pointed toward the stairs. Go to your room. We'll discuss this later. I don't live here anymore, Dad. I moved out 6 months ago. I have an apartment near campus. Did you not notice that my room is empty? The silence that followed was the most satisfying sound I'd ever heard. 2 years earlier, I was a different person. I was 18, fresh out of high school, and terrified. I had been accepted to the state university with a partial scholarship, but my parents made it clear that I was on my own. Sophia had dropped out of community college and was living at home, finding herself. All family resources flowed toward her. Dance classes. Yoga retreats. A new car when she crashed the old one. I was the afterthought. The first semester was brutal. I worked 20 hours a week at a coffee shop, studied until midnight, and ate more instant ramen than any human should consume. I shared a dorm room with a girl who communicated exclusively through sticky notes. One of them said, "Your side smells like poverty." I still have it framed. But then 2 things happened. The first was my scholarship. I spent 3 weeks writing the application essay, pouring everything I had into it. When the letter came, I cried in the bathroom for 20 minutes. Full tuition, plus a stipend for books. The second thing was Mark. Mark was a computer science major who worked at the same coffee shop. He was tall, awkward, and could write code in his sleep. He noticed I was always reading business books during my breaks. One day he sat down across from me and said, "You look like someone who has an idea but no money." I laughed. That obvious? I have the opposite problem. I have money saved up but no ideas. Want to combine forces? That was the beginning of Ember Creative. Mark built the website. I found the clients. Our first job was a dog groomer who needed a Facebook page. We charged her $50. She referred us to a florist. The florist referred us to a bakery. Within 6 months, we had 10 regular clients and enough revenue to quit the coffee shop. We reinvested every penny. Mark upgraded our software. I took online marketing courses. We expanded into social media management, then branding, then full digital strategy. By the end of our second year, we had 3 part-time employees and an office in a shared workspace downtown. The whole time, my family had no idea. I didn't hide it, exactly. I just never brought it up. Every Sunday dinner, the conversation revolved around Sophia. Sophia's new boyfriend. Sophia's engagement ring. Sophia's wedding plans. No one ever asked about me. No one noticed when I stopped complaining about money. No one noticed when I bought a new laptop. No one noticed when I moved out. Well, Grandma Jean noticed. She called me every Sunday after dinner and asked, "How's the empire, kid?" "Growing," I'd say. "That's my girl. Don't let them grind you down." She was the only one I invited to my office warming party. She showed up in a bright purple pantsuit, drank 2 glasses of champagne, and told Mark he needed a haircut. Then she pulled me aside and said, "Your grandfather would be so proud. He always said the quiet ones are the dangerous ones." He never met me. He died before I was born. He knew. He told me in a dream. Grandma Jean believed in dreams. She also believed in compound interest, which was why her $500 investment came with a contract and a repayment schedule. I paid her back with 10% interest within a year. She framed the check. The week after the Sunday dinner disaster, my phone exploded. Sophia called 17 times. I let it go to voicemail. Her messages ranged from apologetic to furious to dramatically tearful. The final one said, "Fine. Be a selfish brat. But you're still invited to the wedding. Mom says you have to come." My mother sent a series of text messages that grew increasingly unhinged. "We need to talk. Your father is very upset. How could you keep this from us? What will people think? Your Aunt Patty is asking questions." Aunt Patty. My mother's younger sister. She was the family's unofficial truth-teller, the one who said the things everyone else was thinking. She was also my favorite relative after Grandma Jean. I called her Emily. My favorite niece. I'm your only niece. Details. I heard you dropped a bomb at dinner. Tell me everything. Leave nothing out. I want to savor this. I told her the whole story. She cackled so loudly I had to hold the phone away from my ear. "Oh, I wish I'd been there. Your mother's face must have been priceless. Did she drop her fork?" She always drops her fork when she's shocked. She dropped her wine glass. Even better. "Listen, I always knew you were the smart one." Sophia peaked in high school. The rest of us have been watching the slow-motion car crash ever since. "So, when do I get a tour of this mysterious company?" "You want to see it?" "I want to invest. I've got $10,000 sitting in a savings account earning nothing. I'd rather bet on you than on another one of your father's get-rich-quick schemes." I smiled. "Come by tomorrow. I'll show you around." Aunt Patty arrived at our office the next afternoon wearing a leopard print blouse and carrying a checkbook. She walked through our tiny workspace with the critical eye of someone who'd worked in retail for 30 years. "It's small," she said. "But it smells like ambition. I like it. Where do I sign?" "We're not formally taking investors right now." "Too bad. Here's what we're going to do. I'm giving you this check. You're going to cash it. In exchange, I get to tell your mother I invested in your company before she even knew it existed. That's worth $10,000 to me. Aunt Patty. Emily. Take the money. Buy something nice for the office. A plant. A coffee machine that doesn't look like it came from a garage sale. And invite me to the next board meeting. We don't have a board. Then start one. I'll bring snacks. I took the check. She hugged me so hard my ribs creaked. Your grandmother is right about you, she whispered. You're the dangerous one. Meanwhile, the wedding preparations continued. Sophia's dream venue was a restored barn 2 hours outside the city. The rental fee alone was $30,000. She wanted a live band, a 5-tier cake, and a dress from a designer whose name she couldn't pronounce. My parents were paying for all of it. I knew this because my mother called me, not to apologize, but to ask for money. Emily, sweetheart. We need to talk about the wedding. There's been a small issue with the caterer. They need a deposit by Friday. Your father's bonus doesn't come through until next month. I was wondering if you could help us out. Just a small loan. We'll pay you back. How much? $10,000. Just until next month. I almost laughed. You cut off my tuition so you could afford this wedding. And now you're asking me for a loan? It's not for me. It's for your sister. The sister who told me I could go back to school later because her party was more important? Emily, please. We're family. Family helps each other. I thought about it. The old Emily would have said yes. The old Emily would have drained her savings to keep the peace. But the old Emily was gone. She'd been replaced by someone who understood that being a doormat was not a family value. I'll lend you the money, I said. My mother exhaled with relief. On 3 conditions, I continued. First, you sign a formal loan agreement with a repayment schedule and interest. Second, you tell Sophia where the money came from. I want her to know. Third, you and Dad attend one of my company's client events. You'll stand in the back, you'll watch, and you'll finally see what I've been building while you weren't looking. The line went quiet. That's humiliating, my mother said. No. Humiliating is being told at 20 years old that your education matters less than a flower arrangement. I'll email you the paperwork. I hung up before she could respond. 2 days later, I received the signed loan agreement in my inbox. My mother had added a note, "We'll be there. Your father is not happy." I replied, "He'll survive." The client event was a launch party for the bakery chain we'd signed. 6 locations, all rebranded with new logos, new websites, and a coordinated social media campaign. The owner, a woman named Carla who had started baking in her garage, gave a speech that made me cry. When I started this business, I was a single mom with a mixer and a dream. I didn't know anything about marketing. I didn't know how to build a website. Then I found Ember Creative. Emily and Mark didn't just give me a logo. They gave me a future. My parents stood in the back, as promised. My mother was clutching a glass of champagne. My father had his arms crossed. They watched as Carla hugged me. They watched as Mark showed off our new analytics dashboard. They watched as a reporter from the local business journal interviewed me for a profile piece. Afterward, my father approached me. His face was unreadable. "How long have you been doing this?" he asked. 2 years. And you never told us. You never asked. He nodded slowly. That's fair. He paused. I read the article. The one from the business journal. Your Aunt Patty sent it to everyone. I know. She told me. It said you're one of the top young entrepreneurs in the state. It said, emerging entrepreneur. There's a difference. He looked around the room. At the bakery displays. At the crowd of happy clients. At my employees, who were laughing and taking selfies with a giant croissant mascot. I was wrong, he said. I waited. About your tuition. About your sister. About all of it. I thought Sophia needed the help. I thought you'd be fine on your own. He looked at me. You are fine on your own. But that doesn't mean you should have had to be. It was the closest thing to an apology I'd ever received from my father. I didn't cry. But I came close. The loan is still due next month, I said. He almost smiled. I know. Sophia's wedding was 3 weeks away when the next crisis hit. My father's company, a small manufacturing firm where he'd worked for 20 years, announced a round of layoffs. My father was not laid off, but his salary was cut by 30%. The wedding budget, already stretched to its breaking point, collapsed. My mother called me in a panic. We can't do it. The venue. The band. The dress. We're going to lose everything. Your father is talking about selling the house. Where's Sophia? She's in her room. She hasn't stopped crying for 2 days. Put her on the phone. A moment later, Sophia's voice came through, thick with tears. Emily, I know you hate me. I know I've been awful. But please, please help us. I don't know what to do. I don't hate you, I said. You're my sister. You're selfish and dramatic and you peaked in high school, but you're still my sister. That's the nicest thing you've ever said to me. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to cancel the live band and hire a DJ. You're going to switch from the designer dress to the sample sale dress you showed me last month. You're going to cut the guest list by 20%. And you're going to let me handle the rest. The rest? I have relationships with vendors now. Caterers. Florists. Photographers. They owe me favors. I can negotiate better rates than you're getting. But you have to trust me. Sophia was silent for a moment. Why are you doing this? After everything I did? Because you're my sister. And because Grandma Jean would never forgive me if I let you crash and burn. I could hear her crying again, but it was different this time. Quieter. Softer. Thank you, she whispered. Don't thank me yet. I'm still charging interest on the loan. She laughed. A real laugh. Of course you are. The wedding was beautiful. Not in the way Sophia had originally planned. It was smaller. Simpler. The venue was a local garden instead of the restored barn. The flowers were grown by a local farmer I'd found through a client. The cake was made by Carla from the bakery chain. The DJ was a friend of Mark's who owed him a favor. Sophia wore a dress that was simple and elegant and didn't cost more than a car. She walked down the aisle on my father's arm, and for the first time in my life, I saw her look genuinely happy. During the reception, she stood up to give a toast. I want to thank my parents for everything they've done. I want to thank my new husband for marrying me even after I showed him the original wedding budget. Laughter rippled through the crowd. But mostly, I want to thank my sister Emily. Most of you know the story by now. I was awful to her. I took her for granted. I assumed she'd always be in my shadow. And then I found out she'd been building an empire while I was picking out table linens. More laughter. Aunt Patty whooped from her table. Emily didn't just save this wedding. She saved our family. She showed us what it looks like to work hard and expect nothing in return. She showed us what grace looks like. And she showed me that being the smart one isn't just about grades. It's about knowing who you are and refusing to apologize for it. She raised her glass. To Emily. The best sister I don't deserve. The room erupted in applause. I sat at my table, frozen, trying not to cry. Grandma Jean reached over and squeezed my hand. Told you, she said. The quiet ones. My father danced with me at the reception. He was stiff and awkward, the way he'd always been. But his eyes were wet. I'm proud of you, he said. I should have said it a long time ago. You're saying it now. Is it enough? I thought about it. It's a start. My mother approached me after the cake was cut. She was wearing a dress that Aunt Patty had helped her pick out. Something modern. Something that didn't look like it came from a catalog for women who'd given up. I've been thinking, she said. About? About going back to school. Getting my degree. I dropped out when I married your father. I always meant to finish. I stared at her. What do you want to study? Business. Like you. She smiled, tentative and nervous. Maybe you could give me some advice. I looked at my mother. The woman who had cut off my tuition for flower arrangements. The woman who had spent my entire childhood prioritizing my sister. The woman who was now standing in front of me, asking for my help. I could have said no. I could have held on to the anger. It would have felt good, for a while. But that wasn't who I wanted to be. I have some connections at the university, I said. I'll make some calls. She hugged me. It was awkward and stiff and she smelled like the same perfume she'd worn my entire life. But it was real. 6 months later, my father's company filed for bankruptcy. The layoffs had been worse than expected. The salary cuts hadn't been enough. My parents were facing the loss of their home. I called a meeting with Mark and our growing team. We had been discussing expansion. New offices. New hires. But there was another option. We could acquire them, I said. Mark raised an eyebrow. Your dad's company? It's a manufacturing firm with good bones and loyal employees. They just need better management and a digital overhaul. We can turn it around. That's a huge risk. I know. But it's also a huge opportunity. And it keeps my parents from losing everything. Mark was silent for a moment. Then he nodded. You're the boss. The acquisition took 3 months to finalize. I didn't tell my parents until the deal was done. I invited them to our office, which had expanded to a full floor in a downtown building, and sat them down in the conference room. Ember Creative has acquired your company, I said. We're retaining all employees. We're restructuring the debt. And we're bringing in new leadership. My father stared at me. Who? Me. I'll be the new CEO. You'll stay on as a consultant. Your knowledge of the industry is invaluable. But the decision-making power is mine now. My mother started crying. My father looked like he'd been hit by a truck. You bought my company, he said slowly. I saved it. There's a difference. You're 21 years old. I'm 21 years old with a successful business, a growing team, and the resources to keep our family from losing everything. I'd say that's not bad for the afterthought. My father stood up. Walked to the window. Stared out at the city skyline. I spent my whole life thinking I was the provider. The protector. The one who made the decisions. He turned around. I was wrong. About all of it. Dad. No, let me finish. I treated you like you didn't matter. I treated your sister like she was the sun. And in the end, the one I ignored was the one who saved us all. He walked back to the table. I'm sorry, Emily. For everything. I looked at my father. The man who had never once asked about my grades or my dreams or my life. The man who had cut off my education without a second thought. And I realized I wasn't angry anymore. I was just tired. And ready to move on. I accept your apology, I said. But things are going to be different now. I'm not the afterthought anymore. I'm the CEO. And in this family, from now on, we make decisions together. Equally. Understood? Understood, my father said. Understood, my mother whispered. Good. Now, who wants lunch? I know a great bakery. Grandma Jean passed away 6 months later. It was peaceful, in her sleep, exactly the way she'd always wanted. At her funeral, I gave the eulogy. My grandmother was the first person who believed in me, I said. She gave me $500 and a laptop and told me to build something. She said I was the dangerous one. The one who would change things. I hope I've made her proud. Aunt Patty, sitting in the front row, blew her nose loudly. You did, kid, she shouted. You did. After the service, the family gathered at my parents' house. Sophia was pregnant with her first child. My mother had completed her first semester of business school with straight A's. My father was working as a consultant for the company that had once been his. And I was running an empire. We sat around the same dining room table where, 2 years earlier, my parents had told me they were cutting off my tuition. My mother raised her glass. To Emily. To Emily, everyone echoed. I looked around the table. At my crying mother. My proud father. My humbled sister. My cackling aunt. The empty chair where Grandma Jean used to sit. And I realized that I had everything I'd ever wanted. Not just success. Not just money. But family. Real family. The kind that had been through fire and come out the other side. So, Aunt Patty said, breaking the silence. Who's paying for Sophia's baby shower? Everyone laughed. I'll handle it, I said. But I'm charging interest. Sophia threw a dinner roll at my head. It bounced off and landed in the gravy boat. Worth it, she said. And it was. My father's company was dying. I could see it in the numbers. Declining revenue. Rising debt. A series of management decisions so bad they looked like self-sabotage. The layoffs had bought them 6 months. The salary cuts bought them 3 more. But the math was clear, without a miracle, the doors would close by Christmas. My father knew it. My mother knew it. Even Sophia, who had never shown interest in anything that didn't involve a fitting appointment, had started asking worried questions at Sunday dinners. The dream wedding was over. The real world had arrived, and it was wearing steel-toed boots. I watched this unfold from a careful distance. My own company, Ember Creative, was thriving. We had 22 employees now. A full floor in a downtown building. Clients in 6 states. Mark had built an analytics platform that was getting attention from venture capitalists. I had been profiled in 2 business journals and 1 regional magazine. The headline called me a digital disruptor. Grandma Jean had framed it and hung it next to her check. But my father still hadn't asked for help. Pride, maybe. Or shame. Or the simple inability to admit that the daughter he'd ignored was now the only person who could save him. It was Aunt Patty who finally forced the issue. She showed up at my office on a Tuesday morning, unannounced, wearing a hot pink blazer and carrying a folder stuffed with papers. She dropped it on my desk with a thud that made my coffee shudder. Your father's company, she said. Financials. Such as they are. How did you get these? I dated the CFO for 6 months in 2019. He still returns my calls. She sat down across from me. It's worse than anyone knows. Your parents are about to lose the house. They took out a second mortgage to pay for the wedding. A wedding that you saved, by the way, but the debt is still there. Your father is too proud to tell you. Your mother is too ashamed. So I'm telling you. I flipped through the pages. The numbers were grim. Revenue down 40% over 2 years. Debt payments eating 60% of monthly income. The house was underwater. The business was underwater. Everything was underwater. Why are you showing me this? I asked. Because you're the only one who can fix it. And because your grandmother told me to. Grandma Jean? She called me last week. Said, Patty, that girl is going to save this family whether they deserve it or not. Make sure she knows the whole picture. So here's the whole picture. Aunt Patty leaned forward. What are you going to do? I closed the folder. I need to talk to Mark. Mark and I sat in our conference room for 3 hours, running numbers on the whiteboard. The acquisition of my father's manufacturing company wasn't just a rescue mission. It actually made strategic sense. Ember Creative had been looking to diversify. We had cash reserves. We had a growing client base that included several companies in the manufacturing sector. Owning a production facility would give us vertical integration. We could offer end-to-end services, from digital marketing to physical product fulfillment. It's not charity, Mark said, studying the projections. It's a smart business move. We'd be stupid not to consider it. The optics are complicated. It's my father's company. So we structure it properly. Independent valuation. Third-party oversight. A board that includes people who aren't related to you. He grinned. Aunt Patty, maybe. She'd love that. The point is, this isn't nepotism. It's opportunity. Your father ran that company into the ground, but the underlying assets are solid. Equipment. Real estate. A workforce that's been there for decades. With the right leadership, it could be profitable within 2 years. With me as CEO. Obviously. Who else? I stared at the whiteboard. The numbers were good. The strategy was sound. But somewhere underneath all the logic, there was a 20-year-old girl who still remembered being told she didn't matter. Who still felt the sting of being the afterthought. Who still wanted, just a little bit, to watch the people who'd ignored her face the consequences of their choices. That girl wanted to say no. But I wasn't that girl anymore. Let's do it, I said. But I'm not telling them until the deal is done. The acquisition took 3 months of negotiations. My father's company was privately held, which made things simpler but also more emotional. The board was a collection of aging men who'd played golf with my grandfather. The employees were people I'd known since childhood. My father had worked there for 25 years. His office had a plaque on the door. The parking spot with his name on it had been his father's before him. Taking it over meant taking all of that away. I didn't enjoy that part. But I didn't flinch from it either. The deal closed on a Thursday. I signed the final papers at 9 in the morning. At noon, I called my parents and asked them to meet me at the office. Not my office. Their office. His office. The one with the plaque. They arrived together, looking confused and anxious. My mother had dressed up, as if for a court appearance. My father was wearing the same suit he'd worn to Sophia's wedding, the one that was slightly too tight in the shoulders. They sat in the chairs across from his desk, the big mahogany one that had belonged to his father, and waited. I didn't sit behind the desk. I stood beside it. I wanted to be on their level. As of this morning, I said, Ember Creative has acquired this company. All assets. All debts. All employees. The deal is done. My father's face went gray. You bought my company. I saved it. The alternative was bankruptcy. You would have lost everything. The business. The house. Your retirement. All of it. You should have told us. Would you have agreed? He didn't answer. We both knew the truth. What happens now? My mother asked. Now, the company gets a fresh start. All employees keep their jobs, including you, Dad. You'll stay on as a senior consultant. Your industry knowledge is valuable. But you won't be making executive decisions anymore. That responsibility is mine. I'll be working for my own daughter. Yes. You will. I met his eyes. Is that a problem? The silence stretched. My mother gripped the armrests of her chair. Outside, I could hear the hum of machinery on the factory floor. The company my grandfather had built. The company my father had nearly destroyed. The company I had just bought with money I'd earned while they were picking out floral arrangements. No, my father said finally. It's not a problem. It's a reckoning. He stood up. Walked to the window. Stared out at the parking lot where his car sat in its reserved spot. I was going to tell you, he said. About the bankruptcy. I was working up the courage. I know. I should have told you months ago. I should have asked for help. Yes. You should have. He turned around. His eyes were wet. I didn't know how. I've spent my whole life being the provider. The fixer. The one everyone depended on. And then I failed. I failed the business. I failed your mother. I failed you and Sophia. I didn't know how to face that. Dad. No, let me finish. I've been thinking about this since Sophia's wedding. Since you stood up and told us the truth about your life. I've been replaying every Sunday dinner. Every missed event. Every time I chose your sister over you because I thought you didn't need me. He swallowed. I was wrong. You did need me. You just learned to survive without me. I felt my throat tighten. I learned a lot of things without you. I know. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry for every time I made you feel like you didn't matter. I'm sorry for cutting off your tuition. I'm sorry for being so focused on Sophia that I missed the person you were becoming. He took a shaky breath. I'm sorry for not being the father you deserved. My mother was crying now, silent tears streaming down her face. She reached for my hand. We both failed you, she said. We were so busy trying to give Sophia the wedding of her dreams that we forgot the daughter who was building an empire in the dark. And you did it anyway. Without us. In spite of us. She squeezed my hand. We don't deserve you. I looked at my parents. The man who had never once asked about my grades. The woman who had called me selfish for wanting to keep my education. They were smaller now. Older. Stripped of the authority they'd wielded my entire life. And I realized I had a choice. I could punish them. I could make them grovel. I could enjoy every moment of their humiliation. Or I could forgive them. Not because they deserved it. But because I deserved to be free. You're right, I said. You don't deserve me. But you're my parents. And I love you. And I'm tired of being angry. I took a deep breath. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to work for me. You're going to learn how to run a modern business. You're going to show up to every family dinner and every grandchild's birthday and every school play. You're going to be present. For all of us. Equally. No more favorites. No more excuses. Understood, my father said. And you're going to go back to school, Mom. You're going to finish that degree. I've already talked to the admissions office. My mother blinked. You have? I told you I'd make some calls. I did. You start next semester. But I'm 54 years old. 54 is the new 30. That's what Aunt Patty says. My mother laughed through her tears. Aunt Patty is 62. Exactly. My father walked back to the desk. He looked at the plaque on the door. The one with his name. Then he looked at me. What should we do about the office? He asked. Keep it. You've earned the view. I smiled. Besides, I have my own office. It's bigger. He laughed. A real laugh. The first one I'd heard from him in years. I always knew you were the dangerous one, he said. Grandma Jean told you? She told everyone. She's been saying it for years. He paused. She'd be proud of you. She is proud of me. She sent me a text this morning. It said, about time you took over the world. Love, Grandma. That sounds like her. I walked toward the door. Paused. Turned back. There's one more thing. The company name. We're keeping it. But we're adding a tagline. A division of Ember Creative. I want people to know where the fire started. My father nodded. Where the fire started. I left the office. Walked through the factory floor. The workers, my workers now, nodded as I passed. Some of them had known me since I was a child. Some of them had changed my diapers at company picnics. Now they were my employees. It was strange. But it was also right. Grandma Jean passed away on a Sunday morning. It was peaceful. She went to sleep on Saturday night and didn't wake up. The doctor said her heart had simply stopped. I thought that was fitting. Her heart had been the biggest thing about her. It made sense that it would be the first thing to go. The funeral was held at the same church where Sophia had gotten married. Same pews. Same stained glass. Same smell of old wood and lilies. But everything else was different. I gave the eulogy. My grandmother was the first person who believed in me, I said. She gave me $500 and a laptop and told me to build something. She called me the dangerous one. The quiet one who would change things. At the time, I thought she was just being nice. But I've learned that Grandma Jean was never just nice. She was strategic. She saw something in me that no one else saw, and she invested in it the same way she invested in everything, with conviction, with patience, and with a contract that had compound interest. Laughter rippled through the church. Aunt Patty, sitting in the front row in a black dress with silver sequins, gave me a thumbs up. Grandma Jean outlived Grandpa by 30 years. She raised 3 children. She ran a household on a teacher's salary. She taught herself to use a smartphone at age 78 and promptly started sending me emojis I still don't understand. She was funny, fierce, and absolutely terrifying when she wanted to be. She once made a door-to-door salesman cry. I still don't know what she said to him. I'm not sure I want to know. More laughter. But here's the thing about my grandmother. She didn't just believe in me. She believed in everyone. She saw potential where other people saw problems. She saw strength where other people saw weakness. And she never, ever gave up on the people she loved. Even when they made it hard. Even when they made it impossible. She was the glue that held this family together. And now that she's gone, it's our job to hold each other together instead. I looked out at the congregation. My mother, crying into a handkerchief. My father, stone-faced but with red eyes. Sophia, her hand resting on her pregnant belly. Aunt Patty, who was already planning to frame a copy of my speech. So here's what I want you to do. Today. Tomorrow. Next week. Call someone you love. Tell them you believe in them. Invest in their dreams, even if it's just with a $5 bill and a used laptop. Be the person who sees the fire before anyone else does. Be the dangerous one. I paused. That's what Grandma Jean would want. That's what she taught us. And that's what I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to live up to. I stepped down from the pulpit. The organ began to play. And somewhere, I knew, Grandma Jean was adjusting her purple pantsuit and telling the angels they needed a better investment strategy. The reception was at my parents' house. The same house where I'd grown up. The same dining room where they'd told me my education didn't matter. Now the table was covered with casseroles and coffee urns and a cake that Carla from the bakery had donated. Sophia found me in the kitchen, hiding from the crowd. "You did good," she said. The eulogy. Grandma would have loved it. Grandma would have critiqued it. She'd say I should have added more jokes. Probably. Sophia leaned against the counter. Her belly was round now, 6 months along. She'd stopped dyeing her hair and stopped pretending she had everything figured out. She looked happier than I'd ever seen her. I'd been thinking about names. For the baby. Yeah. If it's a girl, I want to name her Jean. After Grandma. I felt my eyes sting. That's a good name. And if it's a boy, I want to name him Mark. After your business partner. I stared at her. What? Mark has been teaching me how to code. Did he tell you? No. He didn't tell me. He said I needed a skill that wasn't just being pretty. He was right. She smiled. I'm not very good at it yet. But I'm learning. And I want my kid to know that their Aunt Emily built something amazing, and their Uncle Mark helped her do it. I didn't know what to say. So I hugged her. She hugged me back, her belly pressing between us. You're going to be a great mom, I said. You think so? I know so. You peaked in high school, but you're having a second peak now. It's very impressive. She laughed. You're still an ass. Runs in the family. My mother found us in the kitchen. She had been crying again, but it was the good kind of crying. The kind that came after the grief had started to settle. There's something I need to tell you both, she said. I got my grades back from my first semester. Straight A's. Mom, that's amazing. Sophia hugged her. Your father framed the report card. It's in his office. Next to the article about Emily. She looked at me. I know it's too little, too late. But I'm trying. I'm really trying. It's not too late, I said. It's exactly on time. That night, after all the guests had gone home and the casseroles had been put away and the last of the coffee had been poured out, I sat on the back porch with my father. He was holding a glass of whiskey. He'd been holding it for an hour without drinking. I've been thinking about legacy, he said. About what we leave behind. That's a funeral kind of thought. It is. He swirled the whiskey. When I die, I want people to say that I raised strong daughters. That I supported them. That I was a good father. But for most of my life, that wasn't true. It's only been true for the last year. Then make the next year count. And the year after that. I'm trying. It's hard. Changing who you are. I know. I've been changing my whole life. He looked at me. You were always the strong one. I just didn't see it. I wasn't born strong, Dad. I learned it. From you. From me? From watching you. You worked 6 days a week for 25 years. You never complained. You never quit. Even when everything was falling apart, you kept showing up. I met his eyes. That's where I got it. The stubbornness. The refusal to give up. The rest of it, the business sense, the strategy, the ambition, I learned that on my own. But the foundation came from you. He set down the whiskey glass. Put his arm around me. I don't deserve you, he said. No. But you've got me anyway. So you better make it count. I will. I promise. The baby was born in the spring. Sophia named her Jean Emily. Jean after Grandma. Emily after me. I stood in the hospital room, holding a tiny human who weighed less than a bag of flour, and I felt something shift inside me. Something that had been broken for a long time without me realizing it. She's beautiful, I said. She's screaming, Sophia said. Is that normal? Very normal. You screamed for the first 3 years of your life. Mom has the hearing damage to prove it. Haha. I handed the baby back to her. Looked around the room. My mother was arranging flowers. My father was taking pictures on his phone, even though he'd already taken 400 identical shots. Aunt Patty was arguing with a nurse about the temperature of the room. Mark had sent a giant stuffed bear that was sitting in the corner, wearing a tiny Ember Creative t-shirt. We're a weird family, I said. The weirdest, Sophia agreed. But we're still here. That's the important part. Jean Emily grew. She learned to walk in my parents' living room. She learned to talk in my office, surrounded by employees who thought she was the unofficial mascot. She called me Auntie M and called Mark Uncle Robot, because he always showed her some new piece of technology. The company grew too. Ember Creative expanded into 3 new markets. My father's manufacturing division, now rebranded as Ember Production, turned its first profit in 5 years. My mother graduated with her business degree and started working as a consultant for small businesses, helping other women do what she'd done. Sophia launched her own venture, a tiny online store selling handmade baby clothes. It wasn't an empire. It wasn't a disruption. But it was hers. And she was proud of it. As for me, I kept doing what I'd always done. Building. Growing. Proving to myself, every day, that I was more than the afterthought they'd once told me I was. One Sunday, we gathered for dinner at my parents' house. Same table. Same china. But everything else was different. My mother raised her glass. I'd like to make a toast. Oh God, Aunt Patty said. Here we go. Hush, Patty. I've been practicing. My mother cleared her throat. A few years ago, we sat at this table and made a terrible decision. We told one of our daughters that her dreams didn't matter. That her sister's party was more important than her future. It was the worst thing we've ever done. And we've spent every day since trying to make it right. She looked at me. Emily, you didn't just save this family. You transformed it. You showed us what courage looks like. What grace looks like. What it means to build something from nothing and then use it to lift up the people who let you down. We don't deserve you. But we're grateful for you. Every single day. She raised her glass higher. To Emily. The dangerous one. To Emily, everyone echoed. I looked around the table. At my crying mother. My proud father. My sister, who was bouncing a toddler on her knee. My aunt, who was already reaching for the wine bottle. The empty chair where Grandma Jean used to sit. And I realized that the fire she'd seen in me all those years ago wasn't just mine. It belonged to all of us now. To Grandma Jean, I said, raising my glass. Who knew before anyone else? To Grandma Jean. We drank. We ate. We laughed. We argued about politics and sports and whether Aunt Patty should start dating again. We were loud and messy and imperfect. And we were a family. After dinner, I stepped outside to get some air. The stars were out. The same stars I'd looked at as a child, lying in the backyard, dreaming of a life that felt bigger than the one I'd been given. I'd found that life. Not because anyone handed it to me. Because I built it. With my own hands. With Mark's partnership. With Grandma Jean's $500 and her unwavering belief. My phone buzzed in my pocket. A text from Mark. New client just signed. Biggest one yet. Celebrating with pizza. Want to join? I typed back, save me a slice. I'm on my way. I walked back inside to say goodbye. My father stopped me at the door. Emily. Yeah? I just want you to know, he paused. Swallowed. I'm proud of you. I know I've said it before. But I mean it. I'm proud of the woman you've become. I hugged him. He hugged me back. And for the first time in my life, it didn't feel awkward. Thanks, Dad. Go celebrate. You've earned it. I got in my car and drove toward the city. Toward my company. Toward my future. Behind me, the house lights glowed warm and yellow. Inside, my family was washing dishes and putting away leftovers and arguing about whose turn it was to take out the trash. And somewhere, I knew, Grandma Jean was watching. Adjusting her purple pantsuit. Telling the angels about compound interest. And smiling.